evening, everyone. I'm Kim Lund. I'm the challenger in this race for mayor, and it's a pleasure to be here. And Wendy Shearer embodies the neighborhood. We do what we can in a very inspirational way. I got to know Wendy a little bit while I was executive director at the Bellingham Public Schools Foundation. She came to me wanting to expand salmon in the classroom beyond just a few schools, and she just told me tonight that it's now in every school, which is a remarkable accomplishment. So kudos to her for doing that work. And she kind of championed this neighborhood, and my family has been engaged in the Happy Valley neighborhood. My children have spent countless hours through the Wild Whatcom program working on Connolly Creek restoration for years for their time and commitment to the Wild Whatcom program. So this is a wonderful place in our city, and to see so many people here tonight, I think embodies how we're going to move forward as a community to make a better Bellingham. And I am in this race because I'm a big believer in Bellingham, and I am wanting to give back to this place that has given so much to me as a lifelong resident and to my family. And I think that this election is a really important opportunity for us to come together to reflect on who is the right leader, all of these elected leaders, to move Bellingham forward, because we are at a crossroads. We're at a crossroads where housing affordability has been declared a public health crisis. We have issues on a very uncertain climate future right now. We have issues about our downtown and declining vibrancy and many more issues. So we are at a crossroads, and I appreciate all of your engagement right now. And when I'm out door knocking, I'm hearing stories, or I'm at a meet and greet in the backyard, and they're not the best stories that have been told about Bellingham. And I'm hearing a yearning for more connected leadership, for more decisive action on these complex issues that we have. And I think we can all come together in this moment to write a very different story in Bellingham. And I'm going to be a mayor that takes bold and decisive action. We need courageous leadership right now on these issues. And my campaign, I'm a chemical engineer by training. I began my career at Intel Corporation, and I spent a lot of time in chemistry labs. And so I think about this as Seth and I have many of the same base ingredients, but this campaign and my candidacy is about bringing energy and catalyzing the transformation that Bellingham deserves right now. And I believe that it is true. And I see this reflected in the strength of my organizational endorsements right now. I am so proud to have the endorsement of the Riveters Collection, Riveters Collective, alongside both police and fire. I am so proud to have the endorsements of the Sierra Club and the Realtors Association. These are the types of diverse coalitions that we need to be an all hands on moment to move Bellingham forward. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Can everybody hear me okay in the back? I just want to make sure. Okay, great. So what I'm going to do is start first with questions for the mayor's race. And what we'll do is we'll start opposite from the introduction. So we'll start with Kim, and then we'll switch off, and then we'll go back and forth, and we'll do the same for each race. For the most part, most of the questions are for the mayor's race. We do have a couple questions that are for the full group, and then a couple questions that are for the rest of you. And so we'll go at that pace. Everybody will have, we've got a lot more questions coming in, so I'll have to sort these as we move forward. But we will have each candidate get 2 minutes. Is that where we're at on the answers, or do we want to do 1 minute?
Got a lot of questions here.
I think we can actually do 2 minutes because I can set aside some of these. So why don't we give each person 2 minutes? Judge Garrett will keep us on the clock, and we'll just sort of start here right at the beginning. So let's start with the mayor's race first. And I'm going to start with a question from a person who has to leave due to childcare, and then we'll kind of circle back on some of the questions that are for the larger group. So the first question that we have coming in from the mayor's group is we have this communication that comes out to the community that other communities within Washington State and elsewhere are shipping people and paying people who are unhoused to move to our community. So one, the question would be, is that occurring? And if it is occurring, how are we going to address that? And how do we make people responsible for people in their own community as opposed to shipping them here? All right, thank you. Let's start with Kim Lund.
This is a claim that I've heard several times on the campaign trail. And to be honest, I don't think we have excellent data about this in our community. I've spoke to the booking agent at the jail. He says in his observation that about 60% of people that are coming in and being booked at the Whatcom County Jail have an out-of-state license, but that is one data point, and we need a much more comprehensive, objective picture of what this looks like. So I don't know if we have enough information to trust the veracity of this claim. So we can do a much better job about this. One of the things that I think this community could do better on, and it was alluded to in the Cascadia article, is right now we just have one day, we have a point in time census that we go out to try and get a picture of homelessness in our community. And that is not a dynamic enough count for us to really understand the complexity of the homeless problem in our community. We know that it's changing from month to month, and I want to be able to work with our partner agencies and our first responders in the community to have a much more better picture of who is entering homelessness in our community, who is exiting, what are the programs that are most efficacious in helping. I think we can do much better by doing a binding list approach. I know Northwest Youth Services is adopting this to try and understand youth homelessness in Skagit and Whatcom County, and we can expand this out. We need to have regional approaches to this. We need all of the small city mayors and the mayor of Bellingham in partnership with the Whatcom County Health Department, all rowing in the same direction on this so that we can better understand this question and then formulate an intelligent response.
Thank you. So for the mayors, what is the #1 public safety issue facing Bellingham? And actually, Sept, we'll start with you.
I really appreciate this question. It comes up for me when I'm door knocking. About 50% of my conversations at the door with voters right now deal with public safety issues. And I think the fundamental root cause of many of the public safety issues that are before us today is housing affordability in this community. We have decades worth of construction deficits that have created, many of the candidates have spoken to it, unobtainable prices to be a homeowner or even to be a renter in this community. And when you're paying 50% of your wages to keep a roof over your head, one medical event, one vehicle breakdown can be a life event that puts you out onto the street. And that is exasperating many of the problems that we are seeing. So how do we create a response to that? Well, one, we do need federal and additional supports coming out of Olympia, because this is a problem that it transcends of what a municipality can do. So we need to have government liaisons that are funded and staffed at the city that are advocating for these programs. We need more partnerships and investment in the nonprofit community. These are people that go to work every day. They are close to the problems and they are thinking about the solutions, and we need to invest in this work as a city. And I'll keep saying it again. My whole life being a resident in Bellingham, we've had this mental division between Bellingham being the city and the county, and we have transcended that. We are at a moment where we absolutely need to be working together in fully committed partnerships, the city and the county, to tackle these problems. We need it is a yes and moment. And our safety professionals, they are exhausted on the front lines in our community dealing with these crises. And we need to be able to respond to both the urgency and short-term solutions and do the long-term strategic planning to move us forward. And that's why I have the endorsements of the police and fire in this race. Thanks.
Okay, I think I synthesized everybody's questions down. So what we're going to do is have the mayors answer a couple more questions and then talk about affordable housing. Then we're going to have everybody talk about affordable housing. And then we're going to end with questions that we had about the jail for both Andrew and Peter. Sorry, Peter. I know Peter very well. I can't believe I just blanked on Peter's name. Okay, so all right, great. So one of the areas where we had the most questions from this community here was around trees. and the canopy here in our neighborhood and how we're balancing development that's occurring, tree cutting down, and how that's supporting our local canopy. So can each of you speak with that? And I think we actually have Kim go first now, and then moving on to Sam. So thanks so much. Yeah, I want to go fast. Okay, let's do 1 minute.
All right, we're in the speed round now. So 1 minute on trees. I'm a board member for the Walk a Million Trees project. And so this is an area that I'm particularly passionate about. And I've actually received 2 grants on their behalf to work on tree inequities. We know we have tree equity scores for every neighborhood in this community. We've overlaid tree satellite canopy data with census data. So we know precisely the neighborhoods in Bellingham that are most vulnerable to the next heat dome event. We know where we need to be planting trees, and we should have been doing that 20 years ago. I've also been somewhat critical of the fact that while the urban forestry management plan has been stalled, and understandably there was a lag due to COVID, but we did not enact interim tree protection. So we have lost tree canopy. And I absolutely believe, while I have a strong call for infill in this community to help with affordability, that we need to be doing this with a lens for protecting trees of significance and heritage trees in the community. It is critical. We do not have 150 years if we cut down mature trees and plant 3 seedlings. We just don't have that kind of time.
So I just want to point out again that the number 1 amount of questions we had was around trees. And I think that really speaks to who our community is and what we care about. So the next question that we have, and what we'll do is we'll have the folks in the mayor's race answer it first, is related to affordable housing. Then we'll have each candidate also speak to affordable housing. What are we going to do about accessible, affordable housing within the community? So each person speak to that. And then we're going to shift to the jail, and then we'll be done for the evening. So does that work? Okay, so Seth, we'll start with you. Affordable housing. Tell us what your plan is.
That is my fault. I didn't do it money.
Okay, I appreciate it. Okay, so affordable housing, ways to tackle it. One is, let's add resources to the planning department. There is expertise and a willingness to do more. We have a permitting time that averages over a year right now. We can do better by adding more resources to cut that time. And it's critical because the cost of housing starts on the day when the permit goes in, and starts on day 1, and it continues to mount until the permit is issued. So let's add more staff. Let's look to communities that are doing this work well. There are other communities that have much more expedited permitting processes, and especially for affordable housing projects. The third thing I would call for and take action on as mayor is looking critically at where our city's fees and incentives are working for and against us. An example of this is, as we add ADUs as one tool in our toolkit, we have fees like $3,800 in a park impact fee for an ADU. That doesn't work for our infill, our climate goals, or affordability goals as a city. So I think we need to look critically. We have a multi-family tax exemption. And right now we have an 8-year and a 12-year exemption. The 12-year is meant to drive affordable housing, and no one is taking advantage of that. Literally no one is building and taking advantage of that. So we should look at pushing it out to a 20-year time horizon. Anacortes has done this, other communities have done this, and it really is an effective driver for affordable housing. And as mayor, I absolutely want the people that work in this community to be able to live here, especially the city employees that go to serve Bellingham every day. Thanks.